Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Raid on the Lethal Zone, a Chinese action thriller from 2023 that was directed by Herman Yau. The following plot synopsis was taken from the Artie Dan's website. Based on a series of true events that occurred in 1999, a flood hits a border town in China that is surrounded by mountains. In the mountains lives a dangerous gang of drug runners that have constantly evaded police detection. But with the impending flood causing landslides, the gang seizes this opportunity of chaos to move their largest ever shipment of drugs. Training in the town is the 8077 Squadron, a special border police team that's engaged to action when the narcotics department receives a tip regarding the location of the drug runners' route out of the mountains. So in a race against time, as floodwaters fill the reservoir to bursting level, the squadron must intercept the drugs before they reach their final destination. Now internationally, Herman Yau is probably most well known for his nasty Category 3 exploitation films from back in the 1990s, specifically The Untold Story and Ebola Syndrome. But he has explored a wide variety of genres over the years. He directed some of the Troublesome Night horror movies, numerous dramatic films, a few comedies, and a bunch of action movies that include The Legend is Born, Ip Man, The Woman Knight of Mirror Lake, and the Shockwave movies. So he's right at home making a movie like Raid on the Lethal Zone. Now near the beginning, our team of protagonists suffer a tragic loss of one of their members during a routine traffic stop, but they need to shake it off and get back to work almost immediately. Now we get a little bit of personality for a few of these guys, but it's nothing too deep. I mean, much of this stuff, dramatically speaking, is pretty generic and kind of forgettable. You get a little bit of patriotic stuff mixed in as well, but it's nothing too over the top. Not a movie you're really going to watch for the story or the character development. But one of the elements that makes Raid on the Lethal Zone a little bit different from your typical action flick is that there's a crap ton of rain in this movie. And if you've ever seen the 1998 film Hard Rain with Christian Slater and Morgan Freeman, this kind of reminded me of that. Probably a little less cheesy. But in this case, the good guys need to avoid and or survive some nasty landslides and mudslides. I mean, that's one of the big dangers here, as well as the rising floodwaters. And, these are such significant events that occur many times throughout the film that you could partially classify this as a disaster movie. And it shifts back and forth between, disaster and traditional action. And sometimes it blends both subgenres together in the same scenes. Special effects are good enough to suspend disbelief. I assume they use some CGI for the rain effects. They use some real water as well. And the big flooding scenes, I think, are probably CGI as well. But they're effective enough. Now, the first big action scene involves the drug runners, a rival group of bad guys and the good guys. And, this drug shipment is a target for everyone, basically. Pretty good shootout early on. You get some motorcycle and truck action in. But again, a lot of the shootouts are like point-and-click gunplay. Pretty basic stuff. Nothing too stylish, you know what I mean, or creative necessarily. Some pretty good stunts, though, with people falling off trucks, stuff like that. Action physics are actually pretty realistic in this movie. I was kind of surprised. That's kind of nice. Because you have the floodwater stuff and the disaster stuff. You might think the action would just become cartoonish, but it really doesn't. So I give them credit for that. There are a few short hand-to-hand fights, which are pretty good. Some random obstacles along the way, like landmines and stuff like that. But I do think during the middle section specifically, I kind of wish they would have focused a little bit more on the drug runners and the conflict with them. At times during the middle act, it seemed like they were a subplot and they were getting overshadowed by the disaster stuff. But the good news is that the big action set piece near the end is a big finale between the good guys and the bad guys, a lot of gunplay and a good car chase. And the massive flooding dynamic is nicely incorporated into the final action set piece. So it's kind of probably the reason you would watch a movie like this, and it does finish pretty strong, I think. So I would say despite lacking This doesn't really have that adrenaline rush that you would get from like an old school Hong Kong actioner, but this modern day production from the mainland is a pretty good watch, I think, from a pretty reliable director. I moderately recommend this. I had a pretty good time with it. And it's currently available streaming on Fandango at Home, which was formerly Vudu. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.